This is the QU Athletic Podcast. I'm Will Conerly, former athlete, now graduate assistant and voice of the Hawks. The golf program at Quincy University is the focus of today's podcast. I'm joined by George Schrage, the director of golf, a couple of his players, freshman Zoee Harrington and senior Nick Messenger. And the topic for starters is we're in unusual times right now. And George, the first question for you is, first, I wanted you to give a brief background about yourself and introduce yourself to the listeners, but also talk about the unusual time that you find yourself and your program in right now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So a little bit about me. I'm starting my fifth year as coach here of the women's team and starting my third year as the men's team, so director of golf meeting in charge of both programs. Prior to that, I was PGA head golf professional at Spring Lake Country Club for 2 years here in town. And then before that, I was the assistant professional at Quincy Country Club for 7 years. And then that time worked on my PGA membership and that kind of thing. And obviously now the country club's our home course, which is a fantastic place to call our home course and get ourselves ready for tournaments and as we prepare for our season. So that's enough about me, but a couple of things leading up to our season now, and going back to when COVID first started, we go back all the way to I try to take the team somewhere warm for spring break and get some good reps in and get some good practice time in, and we were fortunate enough last spring to go to Las Vegas for spring break. We played Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of the first week of March, and COVID just absolutely blew up. Thursday was when NHL, NBA, all those leagues started canceling their seasons, and that was when we were supposed to fly home. So I'm sitting here going, we've got to get back to Quincy, St. Louis. We're flying into St. Louis, and I'm sitting here going, by all means, we have got to get on a plane and get back home because we just don't know what it's going to look like past, frankly, the day. So we all got back. Obviously, seasons got canceled, which, when your season is, I'm sure everybody will tell you, when your season gets canceled right in the middle, it's like, this is a bummer. But, we did the best as we could, and I've got two players here with me that, they've definitely put in a lot of hard work over the summertime to get ready for our opportunity to compete this fall. On both sides, we've got some really good, fun tournaments, really good golf courses to go to, and we're just excited for that opportunity, and we get going here in just add a couple weeks.
Definitely. And Nick, I wanted the first question directed towards you. You're somebody who's a senior, been in this program. What was your initial reaction to what the events that transpired with the season coming to an abrupt end?
Yeah, I mean, it was something you just couldn't have seen coming. It was hard to understand at first, but being a senior, knowing I still had another year, I mean, I just looked forward, try to move past that, just tried to stay ready, because I didn't want to kind of dwell on that and look at all the negatives, but look more towards like the positive side of what was to come, knowing that we still had another year, and that, being one of the sports that is able to play, it's very fortunate, and just that knowing we're still going to be able to play and compete this year was a big sigh of relief, because our season coming into an end, that was tough, but going to Vegas for the one tournament we did get to go to, that was quite the experience. So it wasn't all bad, but
definitely. And for both of you, did you guys have an opportunity Zoee, did you have an opportunity this summer to be able to compete? I know a lot of golf courses, I know for some of them shut down, but a lot of them were primarily open during the quarantine and during the summer. So did you get an opportunity to practice your game?
Fortunately, where I live, we weren't in strict quarantine, so I was able to practice on the range and stuff. But tournaments were really slim at that point. A lot of people were canceling last minute, so it really was difficult for me to get into a tournament and be able to play that. So I just pretty much practiced as hard as I could because a lot of people weren't able to, especially in Illinois and stuff. And so, yeah.
No, definitely. And also coming into this program as a freshman, I think you're one of 5 freshmen on the squad right now. So, George, you have a very young golf team competing in the GLVC. What type of, I think 6 of your 8 players are underclassmen. So what can you expect from such a young group?
I expect a lot, frankly. We've had, so far we've had 4 rounds of qualifying, to determine who goes to that first tournament. The 13th we leave for University of Indianapolis tournament, and that'll be a really good test for us. They're a powerhouse within the nation, not only our conference but within the nation. And but everybody, our first 4 are really tightly bunched. So we've had 4 rounds of qualifying that you're trying to make that as close as you can to tournament play. So, ball in the hole every time and trying to do your best and simulate tournament play so that you're ready when tournament season comes around. But through hard work and being able to keep a level head, I think on the women's side, we're going to be able to come close to setting some school records. And that's exciting for me for not only this year, but, having such a young team. I look 4 years down the road and it's like, where could we really be? So it's something that's really exciting for me to look at that.
Yeah, definitely. And Nick, I know that George talked about the transition to Quincy Country Club, and you were part of that transition where you found a new home course. How do you like that new home course, and what are your feelings about the transition?
I was really excited when I heard the news about this. Knowing like the courses we play, I think it gives it the most similar to like the courses we play in tournaments. It's you see more of like the thicker rough at Quincy Country Club, the faster greens, the firmness in the fairways, and that kind of emulates what we play tournament-wise during the season and stuff. So it's good to get on a course like that, get like that practice in, that feel of what it's like, kind of, because when you're competing like that on a course like that, it's almost tournament-like. It kind of helps you get in that tournament mindset all the time, and playing in like a course like that, I mean, I just can't speak high enough about how great it is to get on a course like that and compete.
Definitely. And Zoe, coming to the next level, what are you most excited about playing now at the collegiate level, making the transition from high school?
I think my biggest thing is just being able to grow as like a person. It's very important for, on the athletic side of things, like to keep growing. I obviously have goals in golf, but the lucky thing about Quincy is, what set us apart from all the other colleges is just how great the coaching staff is and just like how much of a family we are. So I'm really looking forward to being able to have such a great team. We're all close together. It's kind of like, a family outside of family. So I'm really excited to see what we can grow just in the next 4 years, and hopefully what I can like help out with everything else. Just kind of like as a family and as a golfer.
Definitely. And George, I know that we've talked about times being unique across the board. What's different? What's different from standard protocol this fall for your golf program?
Everything. Everything from, if we're just doing simple like short game, chipping, putting things for practice, kind of reminding everybody to have a mask on, taking temperatures before practice starts, planning trips. I mentioned our first tournament of the year was at Indianapolis. We were supposed to go to Southern Indiana for a tournament, and they canceled it just because so many teams had dropped out. So that was a last-minute change after, everybody had already moved on campus. So just a lot of things change, and sometimes it seems like it's day-to-day that it changes. But, I think everybody, regardless of sport, has probably gotten really good at going with the flow and dealing with changes quickly. Because if you just get mad about it or sulk about it, then you're kind of left behind, and you gotta kind of roll with the punches as they come keep yourself going and then keep yourself motivated too.
Yes, and I know you talk about changes. On the men's side, there's 3 new additions along with yourself and 2 other seniors, Nick. So how has the squad built chemistry as people have come on campus? I mean, each year, I know that, and this may be just a question, I don't know, it's golf is, how important is team chemistry to you, and how is the team chemistry this year?
I think team chemistry is huge, especially on a golf team. Compared to most sports teams, it's not usually as big. So I think it's very vital to be cohesive as a group and, just because you're around each other all the time. So I think it's huge because we all get along, so it makes it a lot easier. Going to tournaments together, it puts you more at like a relaxed feeling, so you're not so like uptight and like worried about, all like what you're going to do. You're just more happy to be there with the team. And I know since I've been here, we've only lost 1 senior since I've been here to graduation. So I've been a part of a program that's had the same guys for a while, and now this year it's different because we have 5 new kids on the team. So that's different for us, and I think all of us together, we get along really, really well, and it's exciting to have a team that's bigger compared to years past, and yeah.
Definitely, and I know that you've been with a program that's moved up, and that's something that Zoe's going to be doing on the women's side. We talked about the youth of the team, and you're going to be in action in a couple of weeks at University of Indianapolis. How excited are you to start your first meet and go to the UIndy Fall Invitational?
I am so excited. I think, it's easy to say, well, you guys are freshmen, like, don't expect too much. But I think us as freshmen, we are all kind of, we are doing this together. So we're learning each other together, and we're also becoming more of a family together. So I'm really excited to see kind of what we're going to be able to do, because I think we're all going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Definitely. That's exciting. That's exciting to hear, George, from your players, but also you're talking about it. You expect very high things. And when you look at when you're recruiting a program and you have a certain amount of scholarships and you pool together a ton of players in the same class, does that train of thought go into the recruiting process when you want to do what you've done on the men's side with Nick and his class, and then now with Zoe, you can kind of build a program and recruit in that way and show them that, competing in the GLVC on the women's side, it's one of the biggest golf conferences in the country for Division II.
Definitely, and also the most competitive. It's a very tough conference and very competitive conference. But with the freshmen that I have, they're all competitive kids. Like, they want to get out there and when they're on the course, they want to kind of beat each other's brains in, and that's fun to see. And it's nice that you get off the course and that doesn't necessarily exist, but on the course, like I said, we've had 4 rounds of qualifying, and I've seen enough that somebody hits a bad shot and they're kind of upset with themselves after a bad shot. And from there, it's kind of the learning process of what do I need to do to be able to hit that shot better next time, or, play a smarter shot the next time, or something like that, finding that balance of ultra competitive person, but also, especially on the women's side, I almost every recruit I talk to, well, I'm a perfectionist. You picked the wrong sport. I talk to probably dozens of girls a year that say I'm a perfectionist, and I go, you've picked the wrong sport. Golf's a game of imperfect, but having that competitive fire to especially come in as freshmen, having that ability to come in right away and compete and earn a spot speaks volumes to their competitive drive and who they are as people.
Mm-hmm. And you've seen the program grow, Nick, under the direction of George. Could you explain the growth that you've seen from the program, 1 and 2? Also, you have leadership. I know we've talked about the athletes in this room, but could you tell us, you said 5 new players, about some of the other new people we could expect, to see competing and having success for the golf team this year?
Yeah, I think all 5 that we have, our qualifying has been, like he said, it's been very competitive. And, I mean, I think any given day we have guys that could put up a score, like, no matter what. Like, you got guys behind you. If you play bad, there's probably guys that are going to be moving up in qualifying. So I think that's what brings out the best in everyone. And that's why I like the more guys on the team. I think it just brings out the best in everyone. It makes everyone want to try that much harder and work that much harder. And I think this year, I think that's going to show itself with all the guys we have. And I think I see us having a pretty successful year just because for that reason there, with having more guys on the team and working harder because everyone wants to get better and, move up that leaderboard in qualifying because they want to go to these tournaments.
And Will, let's not kid ourselves. Nick, last Friday in qualifying, Nick shot 65. He shot 65 and had 3 bogeys. Bogeyed an easy hole and 2 kind of hard holes. And, 65 in qualifying just doesn't happen. And I've been on him hard all summer. He shot 66 last Wednesday, and he walked off the 18th green. I said, do it when it matters. And he kind of gave me a funny look, and sure enough, goes out Friday and throws out a 65. So, he's definitely separated himself from kind of the pack right now. But as our season gets started on the men's side, Culver Stockton is hosting an event at Quincy Country Club, and it'll be a 36-holer on Monday the 21st, and we're going to have 10 players out there. So, that's another great opportunity for tournament play that people are going to get to prove themselves again, and then we'll get into the bulk of our season. But, man, anytime you throw out a 65 at Quincy Country Club, you're golfing your ball, that's for sure.
Yeah, sheesh. But that's very impressive. And one thing you mentioned is you were on them all summer long. Do it when it matters, but for so long it hasn't mattered, or it's mattered not in terms of the meet because things have been canceled. Not a lot of tournaments were open. How did you stay motivated, Zoe, during this time? How did you stay so driven? Both of you have talked about the hard work that you've put in, but the prolonged months and months of time that was very uncertain. How did you keep that drive?
Honestly, I'm just a very self-motivated person, and I always know how much better I can be. But I know that, coming in as a freshman, people, just say, like, you're a freshman, just try to make the traveling team and stuff. But that's not what my goal is. My goal is to do the best that I can do. So my thought process was, I bet you all, exactly what you were saying about all these people were thinking, oh, it's a time off. I can just sit down and catch up on my sleep and, read a few books. But I wanted to take that time to, like, really dig into my heels and just grind it out. So I was there hours a day and working as hard as I could because I knew that a lot of people weren't doing that, or because they couldn't do it because of just different state guidelines with COVID. So just like the thought of, it will pay off eventually just kept me going every single day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And one thing I wanted to ask about is, what are your feelings about walking 36 holes?
We're going to get used to it this fall. It's a challenge. I mean, I get a bunch of other coaches chirping in my ear a lot that golfers aren't athletes. And I go, well, we may not run, but you try to pack 50-pound bag on your back for walking, 36 holes, you're probably walking 20 miles. We may not run the sprint of a basketball court or a football field, but over the course of a day, you walk, 20 miles with 50 pounds on your back. And frankly, our 36 hole days, we're out there all day, We start at 8 in the morning, and if we're done by 8 at night, we're lucky. And that's a long day to be, mentally focused and, emotionally focused and everything, everything that goes into 36 holes of golf that, college golf isn't the fastest out there. So, it takes us quite a while to get done with 36 holes, but regardless, you got to be in good shape to get 36 holes in. And, you got to have comfortable shoes on your feet, and not necessarily the best looking shoes, but something that's going to be comfortable. But with that said, a lot of college golf coaches, their theory and philosophy being, the more holes you play, the cream's going to rise at the top. Your better player's going to have more success over 36 holes or 54 holes, or the more holes you play, the better you're going to the better players are going to have that ability to rise. So, our first men's event this year that we travel to is going to be at Cog Hill, which is a former PGA Tour course, and I know everybody on the guys' side is excited about wanting to make the team that goes there, because one, it's a fantastic golf course, but two, it's a good test, and you play those 36 holes, and you got to get something to eat and get your feet up, and because you're going again the next day.
How many players ultimately do make the squad that travels?
We take 5 and count 4 scores, so we're throwing out our worst score, but that means that half our team's staying here, half our team gets left behind. So you're doing everything you can to earn that spot.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you talked about Nick being one of your top golfers so far, and Nick, he even talked about, you bogeyed a couple times. Like, sometimes in golf it doesn't go your way. How important is it to stay focused even if you do have a bad shot here or there? And I know you've talked about focus, all three of you have, during this podcast, but I see so many weekend golfers go out and want to execute like college golfers, and it's just because they're not half as consistent, and they get so frustrated with it themselves if they can't hit the right shot, but they haven't put in the reps, the time that you guys do every day. But so how important is it just to not get frustrated and let one shot affect the next shot?
Yeah, definitely. It's super important, but it's not always as easy said than done, because a lot of people, you'll hit a bad shot and then you'll be thinking about it for a couple holes, and next thing you know, you've hit 4 bad shots in a row or something like it. And for me, it took a little bit to get over that mental hump of, because you're not going to hit every shot well. You can't expect that you're going to hit bad shots. The pros hit bad shots. So, I mean, it's going to happen. And when it does happen, you just have to move on from it and just know the next one you hit is going to be better than the last. And it's took me a while to get over that, but I think this past summer and even kind of last spring, I started to get over that hump of always thinking about the negative side of things and more looking towards, how good it's going to be, and, knowing as much as you practice and the work you put in, good things are going to happen. You just have to make good swings and not dwell on all the bad shots and just look forward to the future and what you can do.
Yeah, and I've talked to other golfers before, and they've talked about one thing they've said that's been instrumental for their success is visualizing things before they happen. Is that a method that either of you use?
I do not, because if I do that and then I end up shanking it, then I'm like, what did you just do, Zoe? So, to touch on the last question, I think guys' first instinct is to snap a club, but girls cry. And, they cry and they can't stop crying. So, it's just that one of those things that for me, I can't picture anything. I just hit it, and I'm like, oh, well, that was a good shot. Let's move on to the next one. I just can't think.
Yeah, and that's a tactic. It's funny you mention, but I know a lot of sports, they say don't think, because you just have to have that instinct of, going out and just utilizing all the reps and kind of trusting your stuff. What are your comments on that, George?
Well, and it's funny that you bring that up, because, and I tell anybody who will listen that coaching golf is one of the hardest sports to coach, because it's an individual sport for a team score. You're playing your own ball, and it's the only time that I can't go draw up a play. I can't pull out a pitcher. I can't call a timeout. So your timeout is walking to your next shot. If you're having a really bad day, I can't pull you out. I can't substitute you out, because half our team is back here. But, that's what we work a lot on is being able to hit the bad shot but recover from it. You've got to have the ability to just do that, walk it off, and go find the ball and hit it again and hit the next shot better. And, I start off, and it's kind of a bad reference, but I start off and I tell everybody that, your short game is kind of your makeup. Your makeup covers up a lot of your mistakes. So a good, sharp, short game, chipping, putting, pitching, everything from inside 50 yards is your makeup that covers up everything you need to do. And you got to keep that sharp. And that's what a lot of our team practice time is focused around is working on short game, pitching, putting, the things that are going to kind of set us apart from being able to score and have a good tournament and then sometimes not.
Yeah, and Nick, I know that coming into your final campaign as a Hawk, and obviously the success that you've had over the past couple seasons, what is your ultimate goal for this campaign in the 2020-2021 school year?
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal for us as a team, we obviously, we have a really good chance with 2 tournaments at our home course this year. I think it's not far-fetched at all for us to, win both of them or one of them. I think that's a very good goal for us to have. And there's other courses there I think we can really compete this year. I think there's a good chance for us to do some good things on the men's side with the guys we have. The talent's there. It's just a matter of us taking it to the tournaments and performing like we know we can. So I think it's a blessing actually that we have to get to play our home course twice in a tournament round too. So I think that's really cool to know that we get to do that. It's only 5 minutes from campus, so that's pretty neat when you get to do that twice.
Yeah, and it's a course that you've had some good success on as well recently. So that's obviously good to know. And is that something that, once you know a course and once you feel more comfortable with the course, you can have more success there because you know how it plays? And does that play a big role into, having a better score on a particular day because you're at a course that you're more familiar with?
I think so, yeah. I think the more you play something, the more you get used to it. And then once you start shooting those scores and you can do it, it puts it in your mind that you can finally shoot that, and it's a huge confidence booster for anyone. And getting to play, especially a course like Quincy Country Club, it's not a course you can just play once and then, have success at. You have to play it multiple times, get used to everything, and yeah, I think that goes far for any course. The more you play it, I think the better success and the more confident you're going to be at that course.
And Zoe, I know George talked about the high expectations he has for your team, and you already talked about personally the growth that you aspire to have. I know you talked about the strength that you need to be a golfer. You're going all day long. What other type of training goes into it other than just a day at the course? Is there things that you do in the weight room or other type of methods to continue to refine your craft?
I know one big thing, especially like if you wanted to go to the next level of golfing, mental game is, just as important. Even I would almost argue that it's more so important than physical. So, learning how to bounce back from a bad shot, just like we talked about. So I'm doing that always, constantly trying to improve my mental game. I know on the off season that we work out all the time. So, it's very much a core sport. So constantly keeping your core, strong, to be able to hit that ball far, because ultimately that's the goal, because you want to cream the driver. I mean, at least I do. So, yeah.
No, definitely. And so I appreciate each and every one of you of your time you took to spend on this. George, is this the first podcast that the golf team has done under your direction?
This is definitely the first podcast, and
yes.
and it's been fun talking about it.
Yeah, first podcast, so we're making history here with Brendan Sake, the new SID. He's been here helping it out and setting it up for us. So glad to hear, and having the opportunity to be one of the only sports competing, more eyes on the golf squad this fall.
Yeah, we hope so, and like you said, we have the men playing a home tournament and. The 21st, and then we'll be hosting a tournament in the spring, just kind of how scheduling works out and stuff. But, towards the end of July, we all head coaches got on a Zoom call with Marty Bell, the AD, and he told us that the conference had decided, that they were going to move most of the sports to the spring, but golf and tennis and cross country were going to be able to compete. And we immediately followed that up with a Zoom call with our teams. And, I've got 20 of my players on a Zoom call, and, you could just see most of those faces were expecting to be told that we weren't going to compete. So I just started off and I said, hey, we get to go. And a lot of those faces just, you could see them turn. And that was exciting, So we had our first meeting of the year, and I think everybody understands it now that there's going to be changes and there's going to be sacrifice. You can't maybe have the social life you want. You can't do this or that, but at the end of the day, the competition's worth it. Whatever it is we have to do and go through, being able to go out and compete makes it worth it. Like we started off with, when your season gets pulled out from under you, man, that's just, I don't want to ever have to go through that again. But we've got to